Hello, Twitch. It is that every other random Monday we sometimes play Stars That Numbers, and we are back with our cast and crew tonight. So the crew along the top part here is we have Apache, whose camera is fortunately not working, so you get that nice, lovely face. Um,
You get to imagine a moth person anyway, a
that's
large.
true. We should just put like a giant moth picture there, I think.
There you go.
Um, we got Dart under Maximus. We got Jason under Varlo. We got myself, Kevin, under Selfie. And of course, our generous Space Master, Jimmy. Uh,
Despite my best efforts, it turns out generous.
Speaking of that, why don't you give us a recap over what happened last week as we
Yeah.
get
So
back in the swing of things?
so welcome back in as the alarm klaxons fade on the Vanderhorn, the crew, the company that is Vanderhorn LLC. Um, has just left or is attempting to leave the Oneus system, where they had been contracted to pick up some cargo from a noted research institute that turns out to be run by some crazy eugenic scientists who, God knows what they're peddling, but what they're peddling to the crew of the Vanderhorn, and that the crew agreed to deliver, is a selection of 50. Did I say 50? Is that the right number? 30, some tens of numbers of like sex slaves.
It was 50, yeah.
Yeah, 50 human gen engineered. They're like pseudo humans, enhanced,
Pseudo
devoid of
humans.
personality. You guys actually haven't tried to interact with them at all. They sort of filed in like android cargo and stashed themselves in sort of a crouch position. We'll have to talk more about them as you guys get underway. But you loaded up your cargo, ditched your kid, your boyfriend, Adair boyfriend, your little hanger-on, newly developing psychic Adair, and left him with the crazy mad scientists. We'll see how that turns out when you return. And you're instructed to deliver this cargo to a member of the Toruno, or to an organization, a criminal organization that you know of on your home planet of Al-Masari, to the city New Jerusalem, where they operate, or at least one of the places they operate this criminal enterprise. Um, we can talk more about them as we get underway. But as you guys left the Oneus system, you were sort of picked up by a pirate ship, a ship under the tag the Havoc, some sort of strike force that was waiting for you to come out with your cargo and look to ambush you. There was a brief chase through a dangerous asteroid field that you guys managed to escape, but they kind of anticipated you know, that you were exiting the system and making a run for it, and so they were able to speedily get in front of you and engaged you guys in some ship to ship combat. That at first blush, it was a well armed ship, armed with a plasma cannon that could definitely rip your hull to shreds given the chance, but with expert commanding by Selfie, everyone on the crew doing their part, and by the non-stop uh, um, magical hits that Maximus could dial up whenever he gets a weapon in his hand. You were able to shred this boat, just absolutely annihilated them, taking no damage yourselves. Um, Eliminating the ship, which broke apart and was um, reduced to essentially rubble and exploded not too long after. Its spike core went critical and collapsed, and any survivors that were around the ship would have been vaporized in the blast. Um, Seeing that the ship was going to detonate in about 12 minutes after your final kill shot, you guys put together a salvage crew really quickly. The help of Atlas and his telekinetic ability were able to salvage some piece of the ship. The plasma cannon itself was intact enough to identify it and remove it. And Joran's, your helpful thug, softcore porn watcher who resides in in your cargo bay was able to successfully not botch it and get the piece of equipment, the various you don't know what term they call themselves, but we'll call them the sex bots for now. Made room, and you have this piece of burnt salvage. Looks damaged for sure, but intact enough that it's worth recovering. And the Vanderhorn turned tail and is heading off to leave the system. You haven't left Aeneas yet. I think there's a wave of euphoria that sort of sweeps out, and maybe we see zoom in quickly as the salvage operation's completing, and Carmela switches off, your pilot extraordinaire, switches off the battle alert sirens. Bless you.
Thanks, sorry.
Switches off the battle alert sirens and looks up at Selfie as Selfie sort of maybe takes a headset off that had sort of a 3D display to like sort of visualize the ship combat. And looks up at you and says, "That was some fucking gunning right there."
We lucky we got Max down with the gunner. And I have a new toy for him. We gotta check that out.
Yeah, you got. I mean, that'll be something. You're gonna have to do some. I'll have to do some diagnostics, maybe with Varlo's help. I don't know what the ship can handle, but little repair work, little investment. I mean, you got one nasty piece of science vessel you got working here. So, where to, Cap?
I don't know. Where are we headed?
I mean, the deliveries to
Let me
New
open
Jerusalem.
up that document we had.
It's to. Well, we're gonna head to Cradalus, which is the Hex 04. That's where you're headed.
Yeah. Then yeah.
She's like, if that's the plan, you still gonna go through with this deal?
I mean,
right?
We debated this extensively last time, or this is what we're doing.
Hey, I just drive. We'll be at System Edge in about 18 hours, I think. I estimate about that much, and then we'll be able to jump then. We're all fueled up. I'll hold down the fort if you want to go check on the cargo. Yeah, and we zoom over to Atlas. Jorns is there with you. Varlo's there with you. Max, you can be there too if you'd like. If you don't want to be on the bridge. The ship is just secured through the airlock. This big hulking, still steaming, a sort of ozone-like odor from having been fired steadily to no avail on the Vanderhorn. This piece of weaponry, the ship weaponry, it's big. Your cargo hold is big too, but it is not. Say it takes up most of the room. You guys' cargo hold is not that totally matters. Like, you can hold around 60 tons, and this is about, I don't know, like a half of that. Maybe 2/3 of it, and it takes up most of the room now. Not just like people can fit around it, but it is a big portion of the ship's space. And all of the like sex bots have sort of backed up and crowded and are rearranging themselves into sort of neat rows of 5 rows of 10, and they're crouched back down. And they seem to sort of put their heads down and go into sort of a listless stare. And you guys got your cargo. What do you say, Atlas, as you sort of turn off your telekinetic power that sort of drops this piece of equipment down?
He just you hear like a boom, and then he turns to Varlo and says, "Make it work, please," and then like walks off to check on the cargo, the other cargo.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, you wander over. Jordan sort of walks over with you, and he's like, "Yeah, they ain't said much, they human? He's talking
Genetic-
to you, Atlas.
Yeah, he sort of nods. Genetically modified, but still human.
Yeah, and as you investigate, we haven't really taken a lot of time to look at them. As you sort of approach them, you can see one. They're all clad barely. Think like Lilu in Fifth Element, with sort of just like strips of orange cloth or whatever. So they're the important parts, if you will, for their craft are sort of wrapped up, but it basically looks like more packaging than any sort of clothing. They don't respond or make any like sign that they see you coming. The group of them, they all stare. They're kind of like this, like looking down, and they've got big, wide, very pale eyes. Some of them have different tones in their eyes, but all very vibrant colors, from the greenish to gray, blue, towards sort of deep, pale browns, basically. Vibrant, or like a strong hue of brown that's still somehow pale. Yeah, and they're just crouched there. They're not sort of in a squat position. No, I guess rather than squat, we'll say they're on their knees, sort of in like a supplicant pose.
Yeah, they're none of them are banged up, right?
Yeah, you take a cursory look around. No, they look like if they were jostled, either none of them were jostled enough even for a bruise, or their bodies are resistant to bruising.
Okay.
Jordan sort of looks at you, nodding them, and says, "Yeah, they got tossed a few times. I think if we'd taken a bigger hit, maybe, but they didn't." Atlas, it was weird. They never changed their expression when there was evasive maneuvers and shots off the hull. They stood up and balanced themselves and just went right back down. I had to tell them to move away from the airlock, but they responded and moved. They seemed very agreeable.
Yeah, Atlas sort of nods and says they were designed that way. And
Designed, huh? So they're not robots, but designed? Is that a... Where do they got a... Like, parents? Their dad know they're doing this? Like, mom?
he sort of like turns and just like, they have been bred to be this way. So subservience, I guess you could say, probably runs in the family.
Huh.
Hmm.
Well, what did they, he sort of costed, they're bred for what exactly? I mean...
Work. And he just like looks at them, because like, I don't know, he probably doesn't have like a keen idea of why a human would want a sex bot. So he's just like, well, clearly it's just to do work, right? Like that's why anyone needs a pair of hands.
Huh. Don't look very strong, but... Alright, work then. I guess if you gotta have people pushing crates around, may as well have them look nice, right? And you can see, actually, scanning over, that there are probably about 3/4 of them to maybe even like 40 out of the 50 are female, or presumably female, very obviously, but there are a number of types in there, and then there are some more androgynous looking, possibly male phenotypes of this bred species.
Yeah, cool. Atlas just sort of nods. Well, I'll be in my quarters. Clean up. and he like claps his hands, and then
Yeah, I gotta get the gun secured, and then if you want to, and then like you're walking, he's like, I'll work in here. Yeah, and he goes over and joins you, Barlow. What are you about? What do you want to do? In fact, it doesn't have to be in the right now, but it can be. So ship's underway. You guys are
Yeah.
flying. Systems are all good. You didn't sustain any damage. In fact, I think the ship's in good health, right? You don't have any systems that are down.
Nope.
No. So good. Yeah. So ship Vanderhorn's in high health. It's humming along, and you guys have some hours ahead. So what do you guys want to do while you're prepping for your jump? You'll have to make a couple jumps to be able to get to your home world. You have a Spike 2 drive, so you'll have to make a jump to get to Astioch. I believe you could attempt a jump straight from 3-3 to 04 with some like crazy rolls or something. Probably not. I think you probably have to do 3 jumps in total to get to Astioch, to get to Polymele, and then to get to Cradleus. But because it's only one hex for that one, it'll be faster. And you're just kind of jumping in and out. And we can fast forward some at this time, but I want to, right after the battle, give you guys a chance to put your heads together and actually have a moment to discuss the mission now. Since we kind of rushed out of the Onia system with your cargo out of Briggs University, we had the battle, but we haven't had a moment to sort of devise your plan.
But what do we know about the situation we're walking into?
Not too much. They didn't give many specifics. You have a contact.
Makes it a little hard to plan.
You're right.
All right, guys, we get there. Let me do the talking, and we got it.
No. So what you know is, and I guess we can have this unless somebody else has something beforehand. While you're on before your jump, the crew assembles, and you're in the common area, the mess hall, if you will. And Adair isn't there, but even the Jorns is there, and even Carmilla is there. The ship can sort of pilot itself for the time being. So what you have is information, a contact within a group that you know of in the Toruno Triad. You guys haven't sort of asked about of me anything about them. Where they're based, nor have you sort of pulled your own information, which I'd let you, make some rolls about your knowledge of your home world to see what your sort of personal connections, if you have any, or relationships or anything like that. So we don't really have, you have a name and a contact, but not necessarily a plan of action. I don't know that the plan could be land and march these things through the streets to deliver them, but I think knowing some more and doing some information rolls to find out about the Triad and what you know of them would be prudent.
All right, let's put our heads together, guys. What do we know about these Toruno Triad people? Jimmy, make some rolls, Jimmy.
Yeah. Who would? Sure. Can anyone do it, or like?
We're like most of us are from this place, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
You two are. Jorns is
I'm not.
Carmela's not. Okay. So this is Maximus and Varlo, the two of you who can. Yeah, both of you make me a no check based on int.
I know nothing.
Hang on, my character sheet is super
nothing.
I know 4. I know exactly 4.
I know what that means.
You're like, what's a triad?
8. Got it. Cool. So, I did this on a scale of your perspective to them. So, Maximus, you were uniformed for a time, right? In an official capacity. These are some bad hombres. Like organized crime, definitely more towards the white collar crime. They definitely have their fingers in a lot of different business ventures, none of which are legal, and none of which are looked favorably upon by the ruling caste, the priest caste that rules over New Jerusalem. Even in your official capacity, whether it was during military, some sort of MP duty that you had, or in your training, you definitely were doing various like sort of turning over warehouses and finding stolen or laundered goods. They're definitely involved heavily in human trafficking for sure, in terms of like getting people to work for other unsavory types. Basically, they're, as far as criminal gangs go, they're kind of middlemen. They keep their nose enough out of the way. They have enough, illicit gambling halls, prostitution rings, things that they can use to divert the authorities from. But you've been involved specifically. Maybe you can tell me what type of sting you were involved in, that you came face to face with some of these two and faced a little bit of pushback, say some thugs. What that adventure might have been like that you were successful at. But
yeah, I think we were running a sting on probably like a big drug bust, and also had to do with some prostitution. And like one of my soldier friends was posing as a prostitute and walking in on it while we were, waiting outside to, get the eyes on the prize, and then move in and start beating down and throwing down some fire. But things went south, and we didn't find what we were looking for, and it got real messy.
Yeah, what happened to your friend? Because I think that's what the 4 is, and it has tainted your experience with them about your opinion.
Oh yeah, like they held my friend hostage, and they melted one of her hands in acid.
Nice.
Yeah.
How did what's your reaction to that afterwards? Like, did she get her back?
We got her back. We're not friends anymore. She left the force.
Nice.
But Maximus really doesn't like the Taruna tribe. He hates them.
So I think your friend, we'll call her Sheila. Your friend Sheila, who is a recruit or whatever, and this is supposed to be somewhat of a milk run, basic undercover. Yeah. This is some sort of speakeasy where there's just some shady dealings going on. You go in, you round up. You definitely found heavy fire, and unexpected, more heavily armed guards there, because the Triad, as you came to learn, could marshal force if some important asset of theirs was threatened. And they made off with Sheila. And Sheila, you eventually, through intel and whatnot, got her back. It was also probably from your higher ups, and maybe even into the priest cast itself, probably got some tip off where you could get her back. Like, you guys went in your crew, your unit that was deployed for this particular case, went guns ready and sort of found her, and clearly there had been some tit for tat, and Sheila was there, and you were able to get her back, burned, maimed, with little encounter. And clearly there had been involvement somewhere higher up the chain to make sure that this wasn't something that was going to blossom further into a further fire, that you're gonna put the blanket on the smoke and smother it. So you found her, but left a bad taste in your mouth.
They sent a message, but they weren't gonna kill one of us.
There was definitely more going on than you were aware of. Varlo, so you definitely didn't have your nose in the underworld. You were on the straight and narrow, the sort of elite ranks of the educated engineering class, and you were a prize scientist. You definitely have seen mentioned in news briefs that would go around, paper leaflets that get distributed still, even in this technology. Maybe it's something cultural, that leaflets are something that news and propaganda goes around pretty heavily on New Jerusalem. And you've heard of the Taruna Triad, but in most of your dealings, all you'd ever heard mentioned was the need for biddable individuals who were looking to advance themselves, and you knew that your superiors didn't always tell you where these experimental subjects, and I don't mean you tested on them, but just people willing to do things that were riskier, whether it was medical research or engineering. You just knew that there was probably contacts in your chain of command, that they had to get these individuals, off-worlders with nothing to lose, people down on their luck, the homeless at times, enemy combatants perhaps, people who had surrendered, just individuals who came into your charge who you could use in your work as willing test subjects, so to speak. And you knew these probably came from the darker side of New Jerusalem. And in hindsight, thinking back about it now, and sort of maybe what you can decide what you tell the crew, but maybe give me an example. Give me one subject who sort of clued you in that they weren't brought by like willing volunteerism, but that they may have been like some sort of human smuggling operation in your experiments.
Varlo wouldn't remember a name. He never bothered to ask or to check the names of anyone that he ever experimented on, but he does recall a young boy, probably early teens, just starting out in his life, and he was brought one day before him by the people who would deliver. And again, these are all faceless bodies that would just provide the supplies that Varlo needed for his work. And normally these patients are tame, they're docile, they are not quite vocal in their resistance, but this particular one was just constantly crying, calling out for some family member, some kind of affiliation, some emotional attachment that was very distracting for Varlo. And he recalls bits and pieces of the story that was being told as he would be doing his calculations as this thing cried in its test chamber, about being pulled in the middle of the night from a station not too far from the system itself. Mm-hmm. And of like a missing sister, and a mother that was probably a bit too defiant in the moment of capture, that was lost in the, I guess, moment of capture, and just the trauma of this kid becoming more and more real as he's had some distance from what happened to him. Mm-hmm. And I think Varlo himself wouldn't have minded so much the fact that it was very distracting to do his work, if not for the fact that his lab assistants would constantly be talking about this child and second guessing where these people were coming from. But that's the gist of it. He mentions vaguely.
Yeah, you personally signed the intake forms. This happens all the time for various reasons, and your understanding is you never handled the money, but every subject, you aren't doing extremely dangerous things. There's always a chance for catastrophic failure of a certain experiment, but the people were being compensated, and especially a kid lost a spacer. This could be a leg up, getting some credits in a new account and finding their way. So like, I think you definitely didn't notice. Now, this is not to preclude, because you went through a pretty big change when you left your sort of research position. So this is not to say that you can't rethink how your perspective is on this, but your perspective at the time was this was a nuisance, and a nuisance because it distracted your work, your assistants and your clerics, your clerical aides, and your researchers. Who worked under you. And at the time, all you could think about it is like, man, at least we like capable help at least comes in somewhere in this chain. I wish the lower food, the lower down the food chain could be just as efficient as the supply chain could be. And that was your opinion at the time.
There's probably also a strong degree of like naivety.
Totally.
Varlo probably just assumed that these people were complicit and being compensated, and why is this child so constantly irate? I don't understand. He's participating in something that could lead to all sorts of advancements, and all of a sudden this is an issue. I thought this is what they signed up for. This is for the benefit of the people.
Yeah. Your prevailing memory now is generally of just that being a period of, a couple days or a week or however long that subject was in, was of just a period of mild migraines. Like,
Yeah.
you just had concerns. But you can go ahead and share, because Atlas and Selfie don't, and everybody else don't know any of this. So you guys can choose to share. Now that you can consider it that you've got this cargo, what you guys want to relay to the rest of the party, etc. If anything.
I guess I probably pull the party together and say, well, these guys aren't the bad of the bad. They're mid-level kind of intermediary gangsters, but there's more to them than it seems. I've had a couple runs in with them myself. Trafficking people, gambling halls, prostitution rings. I've had a pretty bad run in with them once. Needless to say, don't expect me to be merciful.
Yes, they're an efficient and well-connected lot, if anything. They may not be the monsters that we might have otherwise expected. Some of these nefarious types, but I do recall them being highly organized, very efficient in their work. So, we keep things professional. We should be on the up and up.
Guys, I've maybe I didn't catch it, or I definitely stowed it when we were trapped coming out of system, but Taruna Triad, I have... Selfie, do you remember the job well, this is before your time, this is some years back. Do you remember... Well, anyway, there was talk of a shipment of possibly from another system, some phase weaponry. They called them shunt guns. I don't know what they actually did. We never opened the crates. But our buyer was the Taruno Triad. They might have been middleman passing weaponry on from one system to another, but I was the transporter for that, and I can tell you, they live in opulence, but they don't mess around when brass tacks, or when the rubber hits the road.
It's their business.
The expression that I don't know what that means. But anyway, I've worked with them, and I've got a few contacts in the Triad itself. My old delivery, the delivery person, the taker on the other end. I could definitely reach out. We're gonna need means of transport. I've got some experience in this. Not my finest hour, but girls gotta make a buck. So I can put us in contact. I don't know that they're a unified group that one hand knows what the other's doing, but we need a means to get all of them in the cargo hold through the city. I mean, Atlas, I don't know if you've been to the city before, but she's a big one. I mean, there's lots of nooks and crannies, but there's a lot of people, a lot of eyes around, and you never know who's watching, who could be interested in this cargo. Anyway, I might have a name or two. I'll think on it over the next couple weeks.
All right.
We got nothing but time. I light up a cigarette.
And Jordan pipes up and says, "So they're workers. Can I get them? I gotta do some
No.
like pull some panels off the beam cannon. Can I get a couple of them to help me? Maybe."
Only the dudes.
What? I mean, Atlas told me they were workers, right?
Yep.
You're
Not
work.
that kind of work.
Yeah, dudes, they're
Not
the
that
better
kind.
workers.
Oh, Jordan's like the gears click through. He's like, oh, you mean
Yep.
oh,
No.
but
No.
I mean they're
No.
No.
I will vent you out the airlock.
Rosebud, set the trigger to tase Jordan if he goes too close to them.
Tase perimeter set to 30 meters. It's like, well, I can't even get into the cargo hold with that. What?
Rosebud, change it to 5.
Tase perimeter set to 5 meters. Would you like an actionable bot available for any unforeseen circumstances? She's speaking of like one of the
Defense
drones that she
drones,
can,
yeah.
No, this will be fine.
Affirmative. Tase. Yeah. She's like, Tase perimeter set to 5 meters. Do not test me. Ha ha. Ha ha. She locks off.
I am a robot. I have no patience. Haha.
Good. This is coming together nicely.
You mean? Oh god. Yeah, like George is just like looks unsettled, but Carmela nods and says, "Well, y'all might have a good payout coming. Oh, and by the way, guys, you have instructions. I think this is just a little minute detail that makes it just a little bit easier to understand going forward. You got like a payment receipt thing. Like when your contact gets the shipment, the funds will be released to you. So you're not gonna have to travel all the way back here for that purpose
Deposit?
anyway.
Sure.
Yeah, or like whatever
just have to get
means they have to
confirmation of
pay. It
delivery,
might be
yeah.
that the triad pays for delivery to the deliverers, and that's the payment. But you don't have to go all the way back to where you came from to get paid. So yeah, anyone else wanted to say anything on the subject? Selfie, you've been kind of sitting in the corner, quiet.
I've just been hanging out. I didn't have anything else to like contribute for the New Jerusalem thing, so I was kind of deferring to Carmela.
Cool. All right.
So
Well-
we're selling these. Well, we're dropping these off of this fucking gangsters, right?
Yeah.
Cool. We're gonna get in and we're gonna get out, and don't test me on this, all right? I will
Oh.
spike all of them.
Oh no. The
Whoa,
shorter
wait,
the
wait.
amount of time we spend on planet, the happier I will be.
We're not
We gotta go.
coming in here to. We're just dropping them off and getting paid, right? We're not going to start a fight.
Exactly.
Right.
Maximus,
Yeah.
we're not going to finish a fight either, are we?
Look, not before we've been paid. We're not.
That's troubling.
I'm committed to getting paid.
I'm committed to getting paid and getting off this planet in one piece.
I
Well,
am
we got another
already
job
something
to
of a
do on
wanted
the
man.
planet.
I don't know if this is going to go.
What we got another job to go do on the planet, guys. Why are you so eager to get out of there?
Plus, it's home.
I'm eager to get away from the triads.
Oh,
I'm
we'll
eager to get away from the planet where I'm essentially considered a fugitive.
We'll get away from the triads. And Barlow, we'll get a brown bag, and your name is Barlow now. That sound good?
Barlow. Yes, distinct enough, but different.
Now I need you to hold real still, because no one's gonna recognize your voice when pow! I break his nose again. I'm just kidding. But
I think
seriously.
Rosebud pipes it and is like, Farlow, Rosebud has the facilities in place to do some facial and vocal modification. They will be permanent, though.
That's a great idea.
There's a moment where Barlow's considering it seriously.
But look, Rosebud, can't you just make some modifications to his face, and then they're permanent, and he comes back and then he just remodifies his face to be what it was before?
System is downloaded and installed in theory, but testing has not occurred.
Well, you only get a one new face per person genome or something? What kind of
No.
bullshit is this?
This
I think she's implying
is a
that her-
subsystem that was included as an experimental part of my programming and has not been tested. I have not done any facial modification before for
Perfect.
humans.
The experimenter will be the experimentee.
Wait, what are you doing fish modifications for then, if not humans?
Fish?
That information is inaccessible.
You got a part of your brain you can't access?
I can access all parts of my brain. Parts
You
have
said
been.
something was inaccessible.
I have the root directories or directions to certain directories. Directories have been removed.
That's fucking weird. Does it feel weird to have part of your brain removed?
Does it feel weird to micturate and defecate?
Oh yes.
Quite
real
frequently.
weird. You get used to it though, and then it feels good.
Interesting.
At the beginning though, everyone hates it. Like it's cry. And,
My
I'm
information
rambling.
stores, I believe, by Varlo's hands and with Atlas's assistance, were wiped and cleaned of certain programming. I am unaware about when other directories might have been removed as a result. It could have been recently. It could have been sometime in the past. And there's like a long series of digits that she just starts listing that goes on for like a minute, and then or maybe like 45 seconds, she says, "This number of ticks old that I have been operational. However,
I
this
both
counter
have-
might have been reset at some point."
You know, Rosebud, if you could smoke, I'd light you a cigarette. That's some heavy shit.
I mean, essentially,
Perhaps-
the exhaust of the ship is like a cigarette. It's visually the same.
There are extensive ventilation systems on the ship. You could put it in there and
No, I think I'll look into this. I'll find something substantially damaging that is, euphoric for you. But anyway, I'll put that on my to-do list. And sounds like we got a plan, guys. We're gonna go talk to these triad motherfuckers and drop off the cargo, and then we're gonna go find my contact and see who she wants us to shoot.
Things I do to get paid.
Jimmy, does does the research lab, does it have the ability to like research people, or is it just items?
Well, I know what. Oops, sorry. I know what I want to say, but let me pull up the Advanced Research Lab
Yeah,
and give you some deets.
I'm a little curious.
Building a starship. Advanced Research Lab. No, it's not just things. A lab suitable for investigating alien xenolife, planetary geology, esoteric technology, and other mysteries of the cosmos. The lab contains cold sleep pods, adequate to contain alien samples, virus-shielded research cells, high-energy lasers, and other requisite tools.
Okay, cool. So I would turn like at the end of this.
It has the tools to investigate most anything.
Yeah.
Now,
So
yeah.
I turn to Varlo and say, we should take one of these people and investigate what has been done to them exactly. See if they were cloned, gestated, organically or inorganically. Does this not interest you?
There's a moment where Varlo's like appraising them for the first time, like properly, because up until now he's had this like strange discomfort about them, and then he looks over at you and says, "My lab, 5 minutes," and he just starts like running over back towards the lab with like this gleeful excitement as he starts pulling off all of the stuff that he was previously experimenting on, cleaning it out, and then comes back and says, "Yes, I'm ready. Let's grab one."
Oh boy.
Yeah, as you run over, like Rosebud says, "Your lead apron," and it thrusts it out at you. You like get like hit with the lead thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see on a view screen the cargo hold from the mess hall where you guys are, and there's the group of them, and they haven't moved at all.
Do they
They
have
haven't
like
moved.
do they have like numbers associated to them, or is it just you?
I don't think you've inspected nothing you saw outwardly, and nobody's asked them.
Okay. In that case, I would go down and be like,
Well, let's actually pause because I think we're going to transition to doing some investigating. So, why don't we take a break there?
Okay.
I have to visit the necessary and
All right.
think about how I want them identified.
All right, we'll take a break here, guys, while Space Master figures out what to call the sex bots. We'll be back in about 5 to 10 minutes. Thanks for watching.